Today, I'm going to be going over all cards that I think should be buffed, nerfed, or changed overall. So enjoy! Before we get into the video, I do have a Discord where we talk about games like Blocktail, Survive the Night, and more. So if you want to join the Discord, the link to it will be in the description and join if you want. Anyways, back to the video. So I've made a video similar to this before and I'll link it in the description and show on screen right now in case you want to watch it. But basically what I do is I give my thoughts and opinions what cards should be changed, buffed, or nerfed, and ever since Demo 3 has been released, constant updates and then patches have been coming out buffing cards or nerfing them. And today I'm going to be giving my full thoughts on some cards I think should be buffed or nerfed. So let's get into it. So in my opinion, the first card that needs to be changed is Thorns. Now hear me out before you start commenting, hating on me. I think they nerfed Thorns way too hard this update. Like, I know in Demo 2, Thorns was overpowered. It was like the best card to stack in the entire game, especially for Pit 29, I think, or the 4 Komodo Dragons. But I think they just nerfed it too hard. Like, them giving you -1 defense for each Thorn card you have equipped is like way too overkill in my opinion. But I do think capping Thorns to 3 was a good change. I think that was a fair nerf, and in my opinion, I think it was the only nerf it should have got. But it got a -1 defense debuff too. So now, when you equip 3 Thorn cards, that's the max you can equip. You have -30% guarding window, and you have -3 defense. So, in my opinion, I just don't think it's worth it anymore. Now, my buff idea would just be to get rid of the -1 debuff defense. I think capping it at 3 is good enough and won't make it too overpowered like it was in Demo 2 with the 5 copies. The reason Thorns was so overpowered in Demo 2 was because you were allowed to have 5 of them and do like 6 damage if you successfully blocked or 5 damage regardless if you got hit. That was the issue. I think the -1 defense was not needed, and I think all they need to do to make this card decent again is just get rid of the defense debuff, and that's it. Cap it at 3, call it a day, and then the card will be good again. Before I move on to the next card I think needs changing, let me show you a clip of how bad this nerf was. Like, I'll show you a clip of me getting damaged with the -3 defense against a gorilla enemy. It's crazy. I think the defense debuff needs to be removed. Anyways, here's a clip. The next card I want to talk about is Line Bounce, and I think this card should get a buff. And at the time of recording, today it got a huge nerf, which I think the nerf was deserved because Line Bounce with Baller was like overpowered and in my opinion better than Knight in a way. But the nerf it got was just too overkill like with the Thorns one. And basically the nerf was half damage. So now base Line Bounce does 1 damage per enemy, and Line Bounce with Baller does 2 damage per enemy. And I think that is way too overkill. Like, in my opinion, it's not even worth using now. And let me explain why. I think Line Bounce did deserve the nerf because it was overpowered, like 5 damage per enemy with Baller. And it did deserve the nerf, definitely. But I think they just went way too overkill. And in my opinion, I think base Line Bounce should do 2 damage per enemy, and Line Bounce with Baller should do 3 damage per enemy. I think that's fair, and the nerf it got was just too overkill. I'll show you some examples, but this is a really quick one and a really easy fix. Just add 1 damage to Line Bounce and we're good. It'll be decent again. Now this next card I want to talk about is one that originally got nerfed in the Demo 3 update, and this one is HP Drain. So old HP Drain gave you +1 HP whenever you attacked and -1 defense, and new HP Drain gives you +1 HP whenever you attack but -1 attack. I think this is really unfair, and I just think the -1 defense was a better debuff and it made more sense and was more fair. Like, you get 1 extra HP when you attack, but in return you also take 1 more damage, or you get 1 more minus defense. It's a really small nitpick, but I think it should just revert back to how it originally was. I personally don't think it even needed the nerf, but it's whatever. It's a small, easy fix like line bounce. The next card I want to talk about is another kind of nitpick type of card I think needs a buff, and this is Power Shot. So right now, it costs 2 BP to use in your cards, and then 3 SP to use in battle, and all it basically does is combine all your slingshot damage into one just shot, and then fire it. And I think it also pierces through some defense, but still. I think the BP cost should stay the same, but I think it should just cost like 1 SP to use or 2 SP to use, because it's really not that worth it. It doesn't increase your damage, it just like gathers it all into one shot and pierce through like what, I think 1 or 2 defense? I think 1 defense. I just don't think it's that good. It should get a small buff. It doesn't really need that much of a buff. Just make it cost 1 or 2 less SP and then boom, it's a decent card to pick. And I think it makes it faster for grinding drop cards, which is cool. And then now I'm gonna talk about a huge nerf that happened today as well. So today, all call cards got nerfed, and the nerf was basically you can only use 1 call card per battle. That means like if you summon Cruel King and he dies, you can't summon him again. He gets that 1 life and he's gone. I think this is a really bad change. If you wanted to nerf them, I think you should allow them to be used a max of 2, 3, or 4 times, and then depending on like the call card, each one has their max. Because like I get it, Cruel King is a really powerful summon. He could have gotten like 2 calls max, but having all be only summoned 1 time per battle is crazy. Like, think about it. In boss battles, you summon them once. Some bosses can instant kill them, or battles with multiple enemies can instant kill them too. So like if you're a healer, you kind of need to focus on keeping that call card alive, or you just don't get to play them again. And it's insane because some call cards like Cruel King, he costs 4 BP to use and then 10 SP to use in battle. Like that is a bunch of commitment and a bunch of like slots for other cards or SP for other cards to use for only him to be called once per battle, and he could potentially die that same turn you call him. I think it's a really unfair change, and I think they should definitely like increase the cap on how many times you can call cards in battle. Like it is ridiculous in my opinion, and hopefully they see the community feedback and then like revert it or increase the cap, because I think it's just crazy and unneeded. Speaking of call cards, another call card I think needs to be buffed is Call Gorilla. Like with the new addition that now you can only summon 1 call card per battle, Gorilla is just even worse now. Before he was bad already, but people used him for like a tank, I guess. But now he's just the worst call card in the game. Like he costs 3 SP to use in battle and 2 BP to use in your deck, and he does 2 damage and he has 10 HP. It is not good. He can be one-shotted by a few common enemies, and he can even be ganged up on and then die instantly. And the damage he does is not even good. So now I think he definitely is in dire need of a buff. My buff would to give him 5 extra HP, so he has 15 HP in total, and then maybe buff his damage by like 2 to 3 so he could do 5 or 4 damage each turn. Doing that would make him a decent call card that can be usable, especially with the call card nerf it recently got. Like, I think that he needs a desperate buff out of all of these cards, because he is just not a good card to use at the moment. So hopefully in the future he will get buffed. And now I'm gonna talk about good vibes. So previously in my last like balance video, I said this card was trash because like the stats weren't that good and there was only 1 copy. But now I think it's too overpowered. Currently in Demo 3, you are able to have 2 copies of this card, and it only costs 2 BP to use per copy, and it gives you 4 HP and 2 SP when you're asleep every turn. I know it makes you vulnerable, but I think this is way too powered, especially since they're doing copies. I think if it was only 1 copy, 4 HP and 2 SP every turn would have been fine, but since there's a max of 3 copies, I think it needs to be toned down or nerfed a little bit. Either increase the SP cost it costs to use in battle, or increase the BP cost. Or here's what you can do. lower the HP and SP bonus it gives by 1 or 2, because since there's going to be multiple copies, it can be good with multiple copies and not too overpowered. Because right now, if you stack 2 of them, you get 8 HP and 4 SP every turn, which is honestly a better ice dagger and in a way a cheaper ice dagger. So either increase the BP cost, increase the SP cost by a lot, or just lower the bonuses it gives. Or here's what you can do. Make only 1 copy available so you don't have to change anything. Because right now, I think it is like the best support card in the game. It is really, really overpowered. I think any one of these nerf ideas could be fine. I'm kind of leaning towards the cap of 2 and then removing 1 SP and HP bonus from it. So that way it would give 3 HP and 1 SP every turn, and both of them stacked would give 6 HP and 2 SP every turn. I think that's the most reasonable way, but I'm not the developer. I don't make the changes. So let's hope they see this, because I think it's just a bit too overpowered at the moment. The last and final card I think needs a buff is Venom Shank. Currently, it costs 1 sword energy to use, and it does 2 damage and 3 turns of poison. It recently got a nerf to make it, it used to do 3 base damage and 3 poison damage, but now it just does 2 base damage and 3 poison damage. I agree with the base damage nerf, because I think the sword should be focused more on poison. So I think because they removed 1 base damage, they should add 1 extra turn of poison damage. So then it would do 2 base damage and 4 poison turn damage, or 4 turns of poison. I think that would be a fair little buff. It's not too big, and it wouldn't be like super game changing, but it would be a little nicer. Because right now, Venom Shank is kind of not too good, not too bad. It's just like somewhere in the middle. But yeah, that's basically all my buffs I have for this idea. Buffs, changes, nerfs, all of that. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with some of them? I have a feeling people will disagree with the line bounce change I had, or the good vibes change I had. I don't know. If you do disagree or agree, tell me why in the comments. But thank you for watching, and see ya.